This is a little hike down to Shark's Tooth Spring in Seminole State Forest from the Sulphur Camp. It's not far along the Florida Trail here. One thing that's really bad here are chiggers. So I have triple layers of protection on before I come down here. And I don't come very often because even with all the protection, you can still get chiggers. And they are wicked. This is January and there isn't a lot of tall grass, but that doesn't mean they won't still attack me. The orange marker out here is the Florida Trail. There's a 7.5 mile section through here that runs along a bunch of sulfur springs, and on this section there's Shark's Tooth, and then blue algae boil, and then green algae boil. But none of them are clearly marked, so you kind of have to know where you're going to find the springs. Somewhere up here the Florida Trail diverges to the left, and we will go to the right to find Shark's Tooth. You can also, there's a little railing up on the ridge up here. That's the Florida Trail there. See the orange markers. We're going to the right. There's a railing up there on the ridge, about 100 feet up. That escarpment. And you can see the spring run down there. Generally try to make a lot of noise when I'm out here because there are bears and alligators and other critters you don't really want to run into. I also have knee boots on because it can be really squishy, wet, quicksand like muck. Here we go. There is the spring run. It's just a lovely little forest spring. Smells really strong of sulfur in here. A little bridge. Oh, sulfur, wow. It's really strong today. And the spring emerges out of this hillside. See if I can get a little closer out of the sun. There we go. There is the spring. And it's coming out of this very steep hillside. And up at the top, way up there, is the Florida Trail. This is Shark's Tooth, and supposedly there have been shark's teeth found in here, but you don't want to touch anything you find out here. There's irreplaceable pieces of Florida history in these springs, and if you're not an archaeologist with a permit, you shouldn't touch it. You shouldn't take anything, and don't leave anything except your footprints. Everyone's heard that before, I'm sure. Anyway, that is Shark's Tooth Spring. There's the spring run. It goes, I don't know, maybe a quarter mile down hill until it reaches the Sulphur Creek, which then in turn flows into the Blackwater Creek. And see, that's very clear spring water. just full of sulfur, so it kind of smells like rotten eggs. This is a place where after a rain you can get stuck in this stuff, and this muck can be like quicksand. There's no boardwalk out here, so you just gotta be careful. There's another view of the spring run. It gets wider. There's some little tiny boils in here that are easier to see when it's very low water. Water levels have been pretty high since we had 2 hurricanes this fall, and water levels are still relatively high. Alright, so that is Shark's Tooth Spring, and then we just retrace our steps back up this little hill. In geology, these are called escarpments, or scarp. And up at this point at the top of the hill, we can get back on the Florida Trail and head on up to Blue Algae Boil. And in one of my other videos, see the orange marks on the tree, I show where there's a hickory tree that's bent over the trail. There aren't a lot of hickory trees out here. And that's how you know when you've gotten a blue algae boil, because otherwise there's no markings at all. Just like this, there's nothing to tell you that that's Shark Tooth Spring. All right.